We've got 2 pages of questions, 3 questions on the first page, 3 questions on the second page. Question number 1. When did European exploration to Texas begin? So if they give us like a year or a month or something like that, we want to tell them, when did they start to explore Texas? The people from Europe, when they came over, when did they start to explore Texas? Question 2. What motivated European explorers to come to the New World? What does motivated mean? Who's ever heard of that word before? Raise your hand. Motivated. Okay, some of us have heard it. What this question is asking, it says, what motivated European explorers to come to the New World? They're saying, why did they want to come over here? What made them want to explore the New World? The motivation is what makes you want to do something. Question 3. How did the Crusades impact European exploration of the New World? So, Crusades are an event in history. When we see them talk about the Crusades in our story, we're going to want to pay attention so we can see, how did it change or how did it affect the exploration? Did it stop it? Did it make it go faster? Did it put it on pause for a little while? What happened? Question 4. How did trade between countries affect European exploration? Okay, so in this case, they're talking about countries trading with each other. We know what trading is. One person says, oh, I have this. Another person says, well, I have this. And they decide, well, if you give me that, then I'll give you this. They exchange whatever it is they're talking about. We want to see when they talk about not people trading, but countries trading with each other. When one country says to another, well, I've got this. What do you have that I want? What do you trade me for it? Question 5. How could exploration in the New World increase a European country's power? What does the word increase mean? What do you think that means? Kylie?
Like if you had money, increase would mean like it goes higher and it increases into more things.
Okay, that's a good
Money.
way to explain it. So when you're talking about money, increase would mean that you got more money. This is talking about power. So how does it increase their power? And number 6, how did European exploration change America? So for this answer, we'll probably have to wait near the end of the passage. They're asking, after the exploration happened, what was different about America now?
After this, it's the end of our day.
Let's stay focused on this, Ezekiel, because if we're not focused, we're going to get the wrong answers. Now that we've read all the questions, go ahead and read our passage. Again, it's not as long as the other ones, which means that we have to be a little more careful about this. It means we're going to have to look carefully for our answers. There's not as much writing. European exploration. European exploration of the Americas began in 1492. Christopher Columbus. In an endeavor to find a quicker route to Asia, Columbus fortuitously discovered America instead. Upon his return to Europe, he shared knowledge of these new lands. Thus began a historical period of European exploration, often referred to as the Age of Discovery. Okay, so Basically, what had happened is people in Europe didn't know that there was all of this land over here. America, well, what is now the continent of America, which would include like Canada, North America, or the US, like us, Mexico, South America, the Caribbean, all of that. They didn't know any of that was here. Columbus went off. He sailed. He went on a journey trying to find a quick way to get to Asia, and he found that there was a bunch of land over here that nobody in Europe knew about. So he went back to Europe and he said, "Hey, you guys, there's a bunch of stuff over there." And everybody heard that and they went, "Oh, there's a bunch of stuff? I want to go see this bunch of stuff. I want to go check out this bunch of stuff. Let's go." And after that, a bunch of people wanted to go and explore this place that they didn't know was there at first. While exciting, European exploration of America was also an expensive and dangerous adventure. But motivated by God, gold, and glory, many were willing to take the risk. So one of the things that was different now is, now if people want to, let's say, go from, let's say, England, they want to go from England to here, they can just buy a plane ticket. And the plane takes, some hours, but you're sitting in a seat the whole time. They bring you food if it's a long flight. So it's not super uncomfortable. Back then, it wasn't just a few hours sitting in a chair or a seat. This would take a long time. You'd be on a ship that would rock back and forth and back and forth. And so some people would get sick. If you got sick, it wasn't like you could go anywhere else. You had to stay on the boat. There's no way to just stop halfway and go, no, turn around. People also worried about getting lost, or if there was a really bad storm. They had to make sure they brought plenty of food and things like that to make the trip over. So even though it was exciting, it was also pretty dangerous. And making sure you had enough food for that long trip, making sure you had a big enough boat to make the long trip, was also really expensive. A lot of these explorers didn't pay for it themselves. They had to go ask the king or the queen of whatever country they were from, like let's say Spain. They would go to the king or queen of Spain and go, "Hey, I want to go and I want to explore. Will you give me the money to do that?" And to make sure, or to make the king or queen want to say yes, they had to tell
My
them.
teacher,
They had to
my
tell
best
them.
people are here.
Okay, Christopher. They had to tell them, "Well, when I go, I promise I'll do some things for you." One of the things that they had to promise to do was they had to, like they said, God, gold, and glory. The kings and queens said, "If you're going to go, you need to bring me back something. You need to do something for me." One of the things that they wanted was they wanted money. They wanted gold. If you could bring back gold or treasures, great, because that's money for me. Another thing was glory. When they went and explored, they said, whatever you find, whatever stuff that you end up finding over there, mountains or plains or whatever, you're going to tell everybody that those mountains, that those plains, that this or that belongs to me, to Spain, or to England, or to whoever. And then they're going to think, wow, the king of Spain or the queen of Spain or the king of England or the queen of England is so cool. They have land all the way over here. So for glory. And the last thing that they would promise them is they said, if we meet anybody, we meet people over there, we're going to teach them all about God. We're going to have them change to our religion. So they're going to worship the same God that we do. Those are the three things they promised to the kings or the queens so that they would pay for their exploration over there. They would promise to teach all the people they met about God. They would promise to bring back as much treasure and gold as they could. And they would promise to get as much land, get as much glory as they could. As mentioned above, religion was one motive for European exploration. Entire wars had been fought over religion. The Crusades, for example, were a series of religious wars between Christians and Muslims that lasted for 200 years and had just ended a couple hundred years before. Knowing that there was safety in numbers and wanting to spread their faith, many Europeans felt it was their duty, both to God and their country, to convert the indigenous people of the New World to Christianity. So again, they talk about spreading their religion. One of the things they did, or they promised to do, is when they met new people, when they met the Native Americans, that they would teach them all about God and how they went to church and how they worshiped and how they prayed and all of that. They said, I promise, if I meet anybody, I will make them change to our religion. Like they said, there were even whole wars of people fighting over which religion was the correct religion or the better religion. They called that the Crusades, where you had Christians and Muslims fighting each other, saying, well, my religion is better than yours, or the way we pray is better than you, or the way that we go to church is better than the way you go to church. And people would fight over it. And because of that, they knew that, or they thought that, well, if we just send one person over and the other people get angry and they fight us, well, they're going to win. They have a lot of people and we have one. So when they sent people over, explorers over, they sent whole groups of people. That way, if they had to fight, it wouldn't just be a group of people against one person. Another motivation for European exploration was money. Explorers came to America in search of precious metals, such as gold and silver, as well as other luxuries and natural resources they could not find at home. Trade between countries was a profit-making business, and the New World gave European explorers a brand new market. So again, another thing they wanted to do was find gold, find silver, find anything valuable that they couldn't just find back home. The more valuable things that their country had, the better they could trade with other countries. If one country has a bunch of gold, the other countries are going to go, hey, I want some gold too. And that country that has all that gold will be able to say, okay, I'll give you some gold. What are you going to give me? And now it's harder for the other countries to come up with a good trade that they're going to take, or that they're going to say, okay, I'll give you the gold for whatever it is that you're going to give me. So the kings and the queens wanted those gold, they wanted silver, any kind of, like, anything that was scarce, that wasn't easy to find, or that they couldn't find back in Europe. That way they could trade with other people, with other countries. And the other countries would want to trade. They would want the stuff that that country has. A thirst for glory, not just for themselves, but for their country, was yet another motivation for European exploration. With France, Spain, Portugal, Great Britain, and other countries all vying to be the first to discover a new item, a new area, or a new route. The competition was fierce. A nation that discovered a new land or a new route to an area could seize control, and control increased a nation's power, wealth, and prestige. So they gave us a list of all the different countries in Europe that were sending people over here. France, Spain, Portugal, Great Britain, and then they even say other countries. So a bunch of countries were sending people over here. And they wanted to be the first people from Europe to see the different parts of the land over here. If they saw the land first, they could say, oh, well, this land belongs to Great Britain, or this land belongs to Spain, or this land belongs to Portugal. If somebody else got there before them, they couldn't say, oh, this land belongs to Spain, because somebody might already be there and go, nah, this is Portugal. We called it first. The more land, the more area that a country could say belonged to them, that this was Portugal's or Spain's or Britain's or France's, their king and queen would seem more important, more fancy than the other kings and queens. And if you were the explorer that found that land first, you would seem fancier or more famous or more important than the other explorers. Because you could say, yeah, I found all that stuff first. They were just following me. So you would seem more important as well. Now, again, the one thing I always found weird about this is they say all of this was new. But remember, like we were reading the other day, the Native Americans were here already. So all of this stuff, all of this land, all of these things were new to the people in Europe. But the Native Americans that had been living here, it wasn't new. It was just their stuff. And like we saw, that's part of why the Native Americans were fighting with the people that came over from Europe. Because these people from Europe came over and they were saying, oh, this is Spain's. Oh, this is Portugal's. Oh, this is France's. And the Native Americans were just thinking, no, this is ours. I don't know where you guys came from. And that's why they were fighting. Like we saw yesterday how the Caddo, or sorry, not the Caddo, the Apaches and the Comanches would fight against the people from Europe. Because the people from Europe were basically showing up at their house and going, hey, this is my house now. And the Native Americans were going, no, you just showed up here. I've been living here. This is my house. And that's part of why they were fighting. Because the Native Americans were saying, well, we live here. This is our land. This is our space. And the Europeans were going, no, this is France now, or this is Portugal now, or this is Spain now. What began in 1492 with Christopher Columbus continued on for several hundred years. America has experienced many changes as a result of European exploration. The influx of people from all over the world has provided our nation with a rich history and has made America the great nation that it is today. So even after the exploration had begun and people were coming over from Europe, like they say, the influx of people from all over the world. There are still people to this day, even though this all started back in 1492, there are still people today that still come to America, that move to America from all different countries because they want to live here. So even though they've explored everything, they found all the land, people are still coming to live over here from all sorts of different countries. People still want to come over here because it's still a place that they want to live. Okay. Now we can go ahead and answer these questions. Again, make sure that you're looking back at your story. All of your answers will come from your story. There's nothing that you're going to have to look up somewhere else or go and ask older brother or sister about. All of the answers can be found in the story. Because it's a shorter story, you might have to look really carefully. But all of your answers you can find in your story. Make sure that you answer all 6 of your questions. So don't just do the first 3 and then forget about the last 3. Answer all of your questions and finish with it and go ahead and turn it in.